The late afternoon sky glowed amber as the sun began its slow retreat behind the ridge, leaving long shadows stretching over the quiet highway. The world was settling into that peaceful hour between day and dusk, except for the roar of engines that shook the air like rolling thunder. 7 bikers pulled into the old Route 19 gas station, their bikes rumbling in perfect, familiar rhythm. To strangers, they looked intimidating, leather vests patched from years of rides, heavy boots scuffed from miles of open road, arms inked with stories they never bothered to tell. But beneath the rough surface were men shaped by loyalty, hardship, and the unspoken code that you never turn away from someone in danger. Lance, their leader, stretched his back as he climbed off his bike. His shoulders ached from the long ride, and he was about to joke about getting too old for cross-county trips when he felt something, a tiny tug on the edge of his vest. Not the wind, not a snag, something small, someone small. He looked down. A little girl, dirt-streaked and trembling, stood before him. Her hair was tangled, her cheeks streaked with tears, and her chest rose and fell with rapid, panicked breaths. Her eyes, wide and terrified, locked onto his like she was gripping him with more than her hands. "Hey," Lance crouched instantly, softening his voice. "What's going on, sweetheart?" She swallowed hard, a sob choking in her throat. They're beating my mama." She gasped for breath, words tumbling out. Please help her." The world around the bikers stilled. The station, the roadway, even the cooling metal of their bikes seemed to freeze in place. Mason, the largest of the group, stepped forward. His gruff voice softened to something fatherly. "Who's hurting your mama, little one?" The girl pointed down a narrow dirt road behind the station. "Mama told me to run and hide. I didn't know where to go. I saw you, and I just..." Her voice cracked as more tears spilled. "Please don't let them hurt her." Lance didn't need another word. The urgency in her voice was enough. Her fear was real, raw, and too heavy for such small shoulders. He stood up sharply. "Boys." That was all. No one asked for details. No one hesitated. Some calls for help didn't need explanation, this was one of them. Engines burst to life in a unison roar that sent a shiver through the air. Lance lifted the little girl onto the front of his bike and secured her gently with his arms around her. "You're safe with me," he said. "We'll help your mama." The moment he accelerated, the others followed, tires spitting gravel, dust clouds rising behind them. They flew down the dirt road with a speed that matched the pounding in Lance's chest. The girl kept pointing with shaking hands, guiding them. There. The trailer. The place came into view, a run-down trailer with peeling paint, sagging steps, and a flickering porch light barely clinging to life. But worse than the sight was the sound, shouts, crashing, a woman crying out in pain. Mason pulled up beside Lance. "Let's go." Lance handed the girl to him. "Stay with her, no matter what." Mason nodded, lifting the child with the gentleness of a man twice her size who knew exactly how to protect something fragile. Then Lance, followed by the rest, stormed toward the trailer without a hint of hesitation. The door wasn't locked. It didn't need to be. Lance shouldered it open so hard it banged against the interior wall. Inside, the stench of cheap beer and stale cigarettes hit them first. Then the scene. A man with a shaved head and a filthy shirt had a woman pinned against the wall by her hair. Her face was swollen, one eye already purpling. 2 other men stood off to the side watching like spectators at some vile event. Lance's voice boomed. "Hey." All 3 men spun around. The one holding the woman sneered. "Who the hell are?" He didn't get to finish. The bikers flooded into the trailer like a silent, furious wave. Their presence alone sucked the air out of the room. The 2 men on the sidelines instantly paled, sobriety hitting them with the force of cold water. The abuser tightened his grip on the woman as if to assert dominance. "This is none of your business." Lance took one step, then another, slow and controlled. "Let her go. You don't get to tell me." He reached into his pocket. Bad move. In a flash, Lance grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the wall so hard the picture frames rattled. The man gagged, eyes bulging in shock. "Touch her again," Lance said in a voice that chilled the air, "and you won't be walking out of this trailer." The friends tried to scatter toward the doorway, but 2 of the bikers blocked them instantly. No fists were thrown, no need. The unspoken threat was enough to send both scrambling out of the trailer like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Lance released the abuser just enough for him to breathe. "You're done here. You go near her or that kid again, you'll answer to all of us." The man stumbled, tripping over furniture as the bikers forced him out, shoved him toward the yard, and sent him running after his cowardly friends. Inside, the trailer fell silent except for the woman's quiet, broken sobs. Her knees gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. One of the bikers, the gentlest despite his rough exterior, knelt and placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now," he murmured. "Your little girl is safe too." At that, her tears came harder, relief, exhaustion, terror all melting into one overwhelming release. Mason stepped inside, the little girl clinging to his neck. When she saw her mother, she scrambled down and ran to her, burying her face in her mother's chest. "Mama, I brought help, I brought help." The woman wrapped her arms tightly around her daughter, whispering, "You did so good. You did so good." The bikers turned away for a moment, giving mother and child a shred of privacy. After a minute, Lance approached gently. "Ma'am, do you have somewhere safe to go? Anywhere at all?" The woman wiped her face. "My sister's house, but it's a town over. I don't have a car anymore. He sold it." "That's all right," Lance said. "We'll get you there." She hesitated, glancing at each of them. "Why are you helping us? You don't even know us." The little girl looked up at Lance with wide, sincere eyes. "Are you angels?" Lance let out a soft laugh. "No, sweetheart, just people who don't look the other way." The bikers formed a protective escort around the mother and daughter, guiding them out of the trailer, away from danger, toward the hope waiting down the highway. And as the sun finally dipped beneath the horizon, the road lit up with the glow of motorcycle headlights, leading them both toward a safer tomorrow. The engines rumbled through the darkness as the bikers rode in formation, their headlights carving clean lines of light across the forgotten backroads. The mother sat on the back of Mason's bike, her arms wrapped protectively around her daughter, who had tucked her face into her mother's chest. Every few minutes, Mason glanced back to check on them. Each time, he saw the same thing, a woman trying not to cry and a child trying to be brave for her. Lance rode ahead, deeply focused. They had done the immediate job, stopped the violence, removed the threat, but he knew the shadows of fear didn't disappear with distance. They lingered. They crept into the quiet moments between breaths. And right now, that mother and daughter were carrying more fear than anyone should. As they turned onto the highway, the girl finally lifted her face. The wind lifted her hair, and her small fingers gripped her mother's hands tightly. She glanced at the lights around them, the steady formation of bikers acting like a steel shield on wheels. "Mama," she whispered, "they're guarding us." Her mother swallowed hard. "Yes, baby, they are." The girl leaned her cheek against her mother's arm, but her eyes remained open, watching the riders with something new, trust. The town lights appeared after 20 minutes, flickering in the distance like a promise. Lance slowed down, letting the formation tighten. They rode down Main Street, where late-night diners and corner shops were still open. People stared from sidewalks and windows. 7 large bikers escorting a frightened woman with a child wasn't something anyone saw every day. But the bikers didn't care who stared. Not tonight. At a quiet residential street, Mason turned into a driveway of a modest, tidy little house with flowerpots lining the porch. A warm porch light glowed through the darkness. The woman tapped his shoulder. That's my sister's place." Before she could fully dismount, the front door flew open. A woman in her 30s, hair in a messy bun, wearing pajama pants, came running out. "Oh my God, Emily!" she cried, rushing down the steps. "What happened? Why do you look like—" Her words stumbled as she saw the bruises, the torn sleeve, the fear in her sister's eyes. "What did he do? What did he do to you?" Emily shook her head, her voice cracking. "Not now, please. Just help me inside." Her sister hugged her tightly, then turned her sharp gaze to the bikers. For a moment, she looked wary. 7 large men in leather tended to cause that reaction. But when she saw the way the little girl clung to Mason's vest, unafraid, she realized something important. They were the good guys. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Whoever you men are, thank you." Lance dismounted and nodded. "She's safe now. That's what matters." The sister ushered them inside. The bikers stayed on the porch for a moment, some out of respect, some because they weren't sure if they should step into such a tender, private moment. But Emily turned back toward them. "Please," she whispered, "come in. Just for a moment. I want to thank you properly." Inside, the living room was warm, filled with a mix of lavender candles and children's toys. A soft lamp glowed in the corner. The little girl immediately ran to the couch and plopped herself down, exhaustion tugging at her eyelids. The sister brought a first aid kit and warm towels. As she tended to Emily's bruises, Lance stepped forward. "Do you want us to call the police?" he asked gently. Emily stiffened. "He'll find out. He'll come back. He always does." "No," Mason said firmly. "Not this time." The sister looked at Emily. "I'll make the call. You don't have to say anything." "I will." Relief washed over Emily's face, and tears spilled again, quieter this time, but deeper. They weren't tears of fear now. They were tears of release. While the sister went to make the call, the little girl tugged on Lance's vest. "Mr. Lance," she said quietly, "are you leaving now?" He crouched beside her. "Do you want us to stay a little longer?" She nodded rapidly. "Just until Mama stops crying." Lance smiled softly. "Then we'll be right here." The bikers removed their heavy jackets, settling awkwardly on the couches and chairs that seemed too delicate for men of their size. But the home's warmth wrapped around them, softening the rough edges of their world. Emily looked at them through swollen eyes. He used to be good. I thought he was. But he changed. And I kept thinking he'd stop. I stayed for my daughter. I didn't want her to grow up without a father." Lance nodded. "Sometimes the wrong people pretend to be right for too long." She wiped her cheeks. "How do I start over now? I have nothing." "You have your daughter," Mason said. "That's everything." Another biker, usually silent, added, "And you have tonight." A fresh start begins somewhere. The sister returned. "The cops are on their way. They said they'll go straight to the trailer to get him. They'll handle it." Emily closed her eyes in relief. The little girl crawled into her mother's lap, curling up like a kitten seeking warmth. "Mama," she whispered, "are we safe now?" Emily pressed her lips to her daughter's hair. "Yes, baby, we're safe." The bikers stayed until the sound of police sirens passed in the distance. Only then did they begin to rise. But before they left, the sister handed them a tray with steaming cups of coffee. "I don't know how people repay something like what you did tonight," she said. "You don't owe us anything," Lance replied. "Just take care of each other." As they stepped outside, the little girl ran after them. She reached for Lance's hand with her small, soft palm. "Thank you for saving my mama." Lance knelt one last time. "You saved her first. You're the brave one." She smiled, a small but genuine smile, and then darted back into the warm glow of her home. The bikers walked back to their motorcycles. The night air felt different now, lighter. When they revved their engines, Emily and her sister stood on the porch, watching with gratitude carved into every line of their faces. As the bikers rode away, Lance looked once in his mirror. He saw the porch light shining brightly behind them, like a beacon. A safe home, a new beginning, a mother and child finally free. And he felt something warm settle in his chest. Tonight, the road had taken them somewhere unexpected. Tonight, they had been exactly where they needed to be.